Weebs! My name's Matty, and I'm going to, hopefully today, finish painting this ethereal on hover drone for my buddy's Thanos. So, where we left off, we did most of our base colors, did a little bit of washing. We started to do a tiny bit of highlighting on the red here on the cloak and a bit on the skin, but we didn't really finish any of that up. Today we're going to be doing finishing of our highlights and hopefully start doing some extra details like some letters up here on this little loincloth strip and start doing basing with some sand. I think to get started with, I've been looking at this guy, and I actually want to finish off his head here. I'm going to do a bit of crystal blue to start with from Army Painter. Going for like a little bit of a glaze here, because I don't want to change the color I put down already too drastically. A little bit brighter because I feel like it's gonna be more light coming from that part of the model. This dude doesn't really have a nose or nothing, so that's all the face highlighting. Weird looking fish dude. Alright, some of the top of these muscles as well, trying to avoid those darkened recesses that we got down before. What I'm doing with the brighter blue right now, or the crystal blue, is kind of going over and giving it some really chunky looking highlights on the bits that are raised that look like they'd be getting more light, just to help them stand out a little bit more. Since we did sort of thin this down quite a bit, we can do like a really smooth, even coat over it, and it should hopefully blend in really well once it finishes drying. Because as it dries, the colors will kind of get a little bit more muted. It always looks brighter when you put a really thin down paint on. Once it finishes drying, you find a lot of that brightness was kind of the reflection of the moisture in the paint. A little bit of blue stuff down here on his weird rhino feet. Bovine feet. You say so. I think those feet look pretty weird. So then, I'm going to take some Army Painter Toxic Mist, like a really sort of pale, almost like minty looking bluish green. Oh, it's lore? Is that like in the world, like in 40k, they're referred to as bovine feet? I didn't know that. I want to smooth that out just a little bit, so I'm going to use some of this blue tone from Army Painter. The theme of this touch-up job so far is water everything down super thin. This should hopefully help even out that complexion a bit, make it look a bit more realistic. I'm going to do his armor a bit more now. He's got a black base coat down pretty well, but I want to make it look maybe a little less boring and a little more definition to it. Let's see what we can do. So we got two paints that I'm going to try to use now. Necromancer Cloak is like a slightly lighter black. It's not matte black. It's got a bit of grayish color to it. So again, I'm really kind of watering it down a bit, and I'm going here on the armor on the bits where it kind of bows out, just to lighten it up a bit, and only kind of from the top down, so I'm stopping when I get about halfway down. I feel like at that point there'd be enough shadow that it would be dark again, so this is just kind of simulating the natural light falling on this black. Avoiding getting any of this in those recessed details. And what we're trying to do here is make the black look a little less monotone, but we don't want to brighten it up a huge amount. So that's an almost imperceptible difference, but I feel like that's going to help us now when I start putting down some dark stone, which is a kind of a step up from Necromancer Cloak in terms of, you know, the gray color. To make a little bit of black that we have here look more interesting. So I think I'm going to leave the underside of that belt not edge highlighted, primarily because if I did highlight that one as well, I think it'd just end up a little bit too bright. So I'm focusing mostly on the edges that the light would be hitting. Now that I've done that, I think I need to go over with some darker black again. So I'll get some matte black. Okay, I think I want to get this red down the bottom smoothed out a little bit more. Start working on that. A couple of reds from last week that I was working with. I think Dragon Red's the one I'm going to need for this. It's Army Painter Dragon Red, and I'm going to kind of use this as like my correction stuff for the night. So as I'm trying to work on this robe, if I mess the color up too much, kind of hoping I'll be able to use this to help me bring it a little bit closer back to where I need to be. We've got a pretty good color overall, but I could definitely work on getting it a little bit brighter. I'm going to start applying this. I was doing a bit of this last time, but I'm going to start doing a little bit more of this and really apply it around the edges of things specifically, and then on any of the areas I think that light would likely be caught. And I want to go really thick with it, or not thick, but wide with the application of it. So rather than, you know, going for a really thin edge highlight, I think with this I want to be kind of comically thick to help brighten up the overall color. So again, really trying to stay on the top bits more than anything, not looking to get it all up in those recesses and shaded bits that I worked on last week. skeleton bone. Even now. My red's still drying, and I think it'd probably be a good idea to go ahead and get a little bit more white down on the flag here. So I think the theme of that flag was that this guy is spooky, angry Ethereal, and he, I don't know, joined Farsight for reasons, and he's angry and over somebody's white flag because he doesn't care if you surrender. That's, I think, the kind of Tau Brian run. Angry space communists. Because this flag is going to be kind of white, and we started with a fairly, well, I mean, I think it was a pure black primer, it just takes a while and a lot of patience to get the white smooth and consistent. I think if I recall, I started by painting this ash gray initially, and have been slowly working my way up with pretty thin layers of mummy robes ever since. So I'm going to mix, actually, I don't even know if I'm going to mix it. I think I'm just going to go straight dark tone with a slightly wet brush. Think we're ready for a bit more red, so we're gonna go a little bit brighter red this time with stepping up from dragon red to pure red. Well, I am gonna thin this a little bit, not going nearly as thin as I've been doing with some of the other paints tonight, because again, this one isn't really so much gonna be a glaze as an edge highlight. Fairly thick edge highlight, but not nearly as thick as the dragon red that we just put down before. And then, in addition to, you know, that crisp bed, we want to try to do a little bit of these raised bits of the robes as well. Go over it now, similar to what we've been doing all this time, but thinner coats than before. We're not doing thick, chunky lines anymore. We're doing thinner, more sharp highlights now. Sorry, Zatanos, you guys gonna have a little bit of a booty going on here. That's just the way the light hits his robes, man. Alright, and then last, I'd like to do some sharper highlights at the edge here, so I'm gonna go for white here, but if I'm not super impressed with it, I might darken it back down. And this is gonna be really reserved for like sharp edges of things. And I'm gonna go over that white and some of the other parts of this. That same dragon red, really thinned out wash I made before. And just a tiny little bit, just to take the really sharp glare off that white. I didn't really want to use a pink or anything to highlight it further, so I thought a pink would just make the robe overall look fairly pinkish. And then I'm going to go back in here, kind of smooth out some of those edge highlights again. Alright, so now I need to go back to some of that pure red that I had from earlier, and I'm finally going to start trying to brighten up some of these little red dots that he got. Hashtag hate painting eyes. I think we got our red dots there. Pretty good. I remembered I wanted to do some grayish hair, not super old man hair, but grayish hair on this dude, make him look a little bit older, so I think I need to start doing that now. He's really into Commander Farsight, so even though he's an ethereal, we're painting him as Farsight Enclaves, and he's kind of angry about it, as you can probably see by his angry face. I think I'm liking this ethereal on hover drone the more I paint him. You know, you never see Tau actually like riding hover drones. At least I've never seen him before. I think it's pretty cool. So I want to get his hair looking a little more white. I got this old dry brush that I usually use for white paints, like light grays and whites and off-whites and stuff. So I'm gonna get some of this mummy robes in from earlier. That's not coming out as smoothly as I would have hoped, so here's my good brush. We play on Tabletop Simulator every Friday, and it's usually like a game or two. He will be streaming that game on Friday, and I think it's going to be like 1250 points of Tau and Base Wolves. It's going to be a very shooty versus melee kind of game. I think it's at like 8 o'clock Eastern. I also have a custom lettering job that I'm supposed to put on here too. Custom lettering job is going to be in Crusted Sore, I think. So how many characters do I have here? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wait, that's not 9. Okay, I might not get the scale quite right on this, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. I let him talk me into doing freehand. Okay, I need to wait for that to dry for a while, so I'm going to look for something else to do. And it's going to be the bottom. I need to finish that flag. I think this is the last coat I'm going to need to put down here before I can say that that flag is white enough. I think that flag's wide enough. So what I'm going to do next, because I don't really have a great deal extra to do apart from finishing off that cloth piece in the middle there, I think I want to base this guy, so I need to find my white glue. So we got a little bit of white glue here now, and I'm going to pick a brush that I don't particularly care for. I'm going to get a little water in the brush, but I'm not really watering this down, I'm just getting the brush a bit prepared for this ordeal it's about to go through. And then I'm just going to start putting some white glue down, like on this base. I'm going fairly heavy with this. I honestly, I don't even like this skull in here, so I'm just gonna bury this skull in basing material. Now I'm not gonna get to finish basing this guy today, because this basing process that I do with sand takes a while for it to dry, but I'll try to record the rest in a video separately and put it up on our channel sometime, so that we have the whole end to end. But basically, the dealio is put a little bit of the white glue down, and then get some nice dry sand. This is some sand we got from a creek that we have nearby, and we left it out to dry for quite a while. So it's various grades, not really consistent, and it doesn't really look particularly good when you first put it on. But with this white glue on, we're just gonna kind of run the bottom of the model through here, shake it around a little bit, get it through there again, just in case there's any open spots, and then kind of turn it upside down, tap all the excess sand out, and we basically just need to wait for that sand to dry. The white glue there a little bit more, and what we'll do at this point, or at that point, is we'll take a little bit of the white glue that I have here, usually like a darker color, like a dark brown or something. We'll mix the white glue with a little bit of dark brown paint, about half and half, and then thin that out really thin with water, probably 1 part paint, 1 part glue to 2 parts water, and then kind of just gently mop that into the sand. It'll settle over it and help clear out the distinction between the really small particles and the bigger particles. Gives it a little bit of bottom color, and the extra little bit of white glue will help hold the pieces down that are already on. And then after that, you can just go over and dry brush your top color on. So usually I would do like a dark brown for the base, and then go over and dry brush with like a yellow for a desert color, or maybe do like a dark orange brown for it. Here's an example. So you can see I put some sand down here. This is ages back, but some sand down here, put some paint in it, and then dry brush over the top. But now he's got some sand on, so we can go back on his painting stick handle thing. I think that middle robe bit is dry enough that I can start trying to finish it off again now. So let's get back to this, shall we? So third character looks sort of like a P, but missing the backing. Alright, Brian, I hope that was worth it for a pun. Let me get some wash ready, because I want to go over and rewash all my little tan bits, robes, and this flag down here. So gotta wait for that to get ready, and I think honestly that's kind of gonna be it. Once we get the wash on, we'll let it dry and then edge highlight these bits again. But I think this guy is gonna be done, except for the basing, which we need to wait a little bit longer for. I think I'm going to go ahead and get my wash and start doing the bottom with the flag. Actually, with the flag, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do a wash. I think I'm going to use Citadel. They have this really good contrast for white called Apothecary White. I think I'm going to use that. So Apothecary White is a really, really thinned out neutral color. It just comes out sort of slightly grayish in the recesses, and everywhere else it kind of doesn't really do a whole lot other than maybe smooth it out a little. So I'm not really a believer in really thick contrasts, but I don't want to leave this one too patchy as well. So while it's still wet, I kind of move it around a little bit just to make sure it doesn't get too thick, but it kind of settles in the right spot. And that's it. I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'll dry brush that a little bit to get the white edges and some of the smoothness back. Pretty much it for the flag. Looks like the robe is dry enough now, so I'm gonna start some of this soft tone from Army Painter. So I'm doing a drop of that, and then some of their war paint mixing medium just to dilute the color a little bit, because I don't want to go super dark. And go in kind of thinner this time. I don't want to let it pool as much as it did that one time. I don't know that there's much more I can do for this guy tonight. I gotta wait for that wash to dry and wait for that sand to dry. Yeah, I can tidy up this Farsight emblem a bit. I think this is probably gonna be it. This is gonna be me calling it for the night, and then I will I'll finish up that base tomorrow in some separate videos so that we can have a final version of this all in one place. But yeah, first Tau, it came out okay. I think he's alright. And with that, good night, Twitch, and thanks everyone for coming.
Hey everyone, this is Platonic D, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching our video. We do this to show everyone that your hobbies don't have to be on a professional level for you to enjoy them or share them. We strive to bring positivity to our hobbies and help everyone be more comfortable with just playing and falling into what you enjoy most. Like, comment, and subscribe and all that other jazz on our social media outlets that you can find down below in the description. Hope you join us again next time. And a big thank you to our Patreon supporters. You guys help us out in a major way, and we cannot thank you enough. Thanks.
What is wrong with this guy?